Boy, there's a lot to unpack here with the Woodstock 50 official announcement. First thing I'll say, and a lot of people are asking my thoughts. I'll give you my thoughts. First thing I will say is the leaks weren't that far off. You know, they really weren't. They had a lot of the artists down, most notably like Jay-Z and, you know, those kinds of artists who are obviously going to anchor the evening. But we'll take a look at the lineup. The one thing I found interesting about the announcement itself, which came late last night, was that it was an invitation-only thing at Electric Lady Studios in New York City, which is odd to me because if you want to maximize publicity for an event, you open it up to everybody in media. Now I was away on vacation, so I have like 500 emails, so I don't even know if we got the invite for it. But I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't, because you can't exactly fit a lot of people into the recording studio. But that's kind of my point. Like you do it in a big place where you can fit all the outlets and everything. A lot of the coverage I'm seeing early on for this, they're not really showing much of the press conference, which to me says there wasn't a lot of people there. We do have some stuff that we got from the Poughkeepsie Journal, which I will share with you in a sec. But I found that to be a little odd because I've been a part of a lot of press conferences, and a lot of them are in huge venues. And, you know, you have outlets like The Morning Show with Anthony and EHM Radio next to Rolling Stone, next to Variety, next to the Hong Kong News, next to, AP, next to Jim's blog. That's kind of how it works. Not the case in this particular situation. Found that to be a smidge on the interesting side. Why such a low? Why keep it low for this event when you're trying to blow out awareness? That was a little weird, if you ask me. Common and what's his name from Creedence, John Fogerty, showed up. I believe they performed as well. I don't have any of that audio for you. Again, a little odd, like we've never heard either of those two guys performing. That was a little strange, if you ask me. And the guy from Headcount, which is a voter registration organization, was there as well. So those were the four, and Michael Lang, the organizer, who was sporting a haircut from the original 1969 Woodstock year, which is just lovely. So it was a bizarre. It was just weird. It was just a little. It felt rushed, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, which would sort of lend itself to a lot of the things that we were assuming on past Morning Show with Anthony vlogs, which is that they were scrambling here a little bit, which is not what you really want to see out of a major music festival. Last time I saw a festival scramble a bit, it was the Fire Festival, and that did not turn out to be all that well. And good news here, the one thing that we've noticed between the Fire Festival and Woodstock 50 would be glamping. They're promising glamping at both, and Fire didn't come out with this one. I don't know what Woodstock is going to do. I will reserve judgment. But as far as glamping goes at music festivals, I'm not really sure there are a ton out there that are able to put that little feature together quite succinctly. So should we do the lineup first, or should we hear from Common and Michael Lang? Let's hear from Common, who was on hand, who was going to be a part of the lineup, who essentially kind of said, I never really saw Woodstock, but I hear it's cool, so I'm on board. Not to be too facetious, but that was essentially what Common said at the press conference yesterday. This audio courtesy of our pals over at the Poughkeepsie Journal.
My first awareness of a festival was Woodstock. It came from posters I had seen, records that I've heard about, and people talking about Woodstock. It was not only the music, but it was the spirit of the festival, and what the incubus of it was really there to create movement and create change. So it really, that somehow seeped into our psyche or understanding, and that's why Woodstock always resonated with us, even people who didn't know all the details about Woodstock, it still sat up at the top of the mountain as the greatest festival that we've known.
All right, so there's Common, who said the word Incubus, and it's a shame that they're not going to be there because that'd have been nice. I'd like to have a little Incubus in that lineup. But essentially, I mean, he was kind of saying, like, yeah, I'm not really quite sure, but I know a lot of people are talking about Woodstock, so it must be cool. That's kind of what he said. Here's Michael Lang's comments on the evening in the press conference. Let's take a listen to him here.
Assembled here is, you know, a combination of some of the great artists like John from our era, and
John Fogerty.
Many of the great artists of today, and hopefully some of the great artists of tomorrow. And many of these artists are committed to social change, have their own issues that they support, but also support kind of these global issues of climate change and Black Lives Matter and the Me Too movement, and you know, we're working with many NGOs in that regard. Headcount, for example, and you know, environmental groups and many people who are dedicating their lives to making sure that the planet survives, that we survive, and that we may actually have a more compassionate and more loving world to live in.
All right, so that audio courtesy of our pals over at the Poughkeepsie Journal. Again, you're hearing room audio, like it wasn't mic'd, you know what I'm saying? Like you go to a press conference, there's a mic, everybody taps into the mic, so you get good, clean audio. There's no mic, there's 4 of them up there. I don't want to harp on this, but I'm just saying, like, this is supposed to be this is supposed to be the festival. You know, as a member of the, you know, media, a proud person who says he's not a member of the media. I've been to a lot of press conferences. I've put on press conferences over the course of my career prior to being in radio, and that's just not how you do it. It's just not how you do it. It's a little puzzling to me. But, you know, then again, they only have to move 100,000 tickets with their lineup. It might not be difficult. Let's get into it. Day 1, Friday, August 16th. We'll work our way from headliners down. The Killers are in the top left position. That's usually your headliner. It looks like they have a bunch of headliners all together. So here's Friday, August 16th. The Killers, Miley Cyrus, Santana, the Lumineers, and the Raconteurs. That's your top line. Your bottom line, your next line. Robert Plant and the Sensational Space Shifters. Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats, John Fogerty. Now, you can argue that all of those artists are headliners, and I could not argue against that. By the way, we always joke about this on the morning show, but it's true that font size matters. When it comes to these things, the bigger your font, the bigger you're considered in the festival. What I did find interesting about the Woodstock presentation was everybody is essentially the same size. Top line, down to bottom, same font size. That's kind of interesting. By the way, the poster and the billing is Woodstock 50, August 16th, 17th, and 18th, 2019, Watkins Glen, New York, 3 days of peace, love, and music. So here we go. So Killers, Miley Cyrus, Santana, the Lumineers, the Raconteurs, Robert Plant and the Sensational Space Shifters, Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats, John Fogerty. Run the Jewels, The Head and the Heart, Maggie Rogers, Michael Franti and Spearhead, Bishop Briggs, Anderson East, who we just had on the show here. Great interview. Check it out on the morning show with Anthony Page at WEHM.com. Akon, Princess Nokia, John Sebastian, Melanie, Grandson, Fever 333, Dorothy, Flora. Okay, there's a bunch of other people. Those would be the artists of today or tomorrow. We'll skip some of those in favor of saving some time here. Day 2, Saturday, August 17th, Dead and Company. Chance the Rapper, The Black Keys, Sturgill Simpson, line 1. Line 2, Greta Van Fleet, Portugal the Man, Leon Bridges, Gary Clark Jr., Edward Sharpe, and the Magnetic Zeros. David Crosby and Friends on line 3. Dawes, Margot Price, NACO, and Medicine for the People. India R.E., line 4. Jade Bird, Country Joe McDonald, Rival Sons, Emily King, Soccer Mommy, Sir, Taylor Bennett, Amy Helm, Courtney Hadwin, Pearl, John Robert, and a bunch more. Day 3, first line, left side, Jay-Z, Imagine Dragons, Halsey, Cage the Elephant, Second Line, Brandi Carlile, Janelle Monáe, Young the Giant, Courtney Barnett, Common, Third Line, Vince Staples, Judah and the Lion, Earl Sweatshirt, Boy Genius, Rain Wolf, Line 4, The Zombies, Canned Heat, Hot Tuna. We'll skip around here. Anybody else worth mentioning? Not really. Okay, so there's your lineup. Couple of thoughts right off the bat. You have a lot of festival headliners in there all around, so maybe they have more festival liners than they need. Is the Killers, Dead and Company, and Jay-Z considered to be the festival headliners? Are they going to be closing out those nights? Jay-Z being the artist on Sunday. We always say that's the headliner. They always close out the show. If that's it, that's not all that bad. That's not all that bad. Let's be honest with each other. It'd be easy to come in here and just dump all over this lineup, but the Killers, Dead and Company, and Jay-Z, that's a headline for any Coachella, Bonnaroo, or whatever. Now, to that point, I said that you would like Woodstock 50 to be the wow, like we would never see this on a Coachella, Bonnaroo, so on and so forth. We don't have that wow factor. I just don't think. I think you have a really strong music festival lineup here. I don't think you have like a Woodstock 50th anniversary, like the one that got it all started. Like, holy cow! Like, I don't know if we have that. Maybe my expectations are a smidge too high. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe having Zeppelin reunite was crazy to think and all. And I'm not saying that would, but I'm just saying a lot of the things that were being tossed around and thrown around, maybe we're a little bit, too far high out of expectations. But this is a really, really great music festival. Whether it lives up to a 50th anniversary of the original, that I'm not so sure. And I think we got to kind of wait and see. And they are going to announce some more people. I don't know if they're going to be bigger people or just during the day acts. I'm not entirely sure. But, let's be honest. They did a fairly good job balancing this thing out. They got a good amount of hip-hop here. I don't really see a lot of EDM on here. I see a lot of great rock bands, a lot of indie artists, a lot of great, interesting stuff. That Friday night is like all over the place with the Killers, Miley Cyrus, Santana, the Lumineers, and the Raconteurs. Miley, by the way, who thought it'd be a good idea to announce her performance at the festival in a naked Instagram photo. You'll be able to see that on the morning show vlog. She's covering herself up, but still, she's lying in a chair naked. That's how she announced she's doing Woodstock. I guess because a lot of people got naked at Woodstock, and maybe that was the thing. I'm not sure, but that's how Miley chose to tell the world she was doing Woodstock 50 by appearing naked on Instagram. So there you go. 88.4 million people got a chance to see that. Santana, as being an original artist, putting him on top, I think is a really class move. Let's talk about some of the original artists and some of the interesting things there. John Sebastian is involved. Melanie goes back, which I think is great. I would love to see Melanie and Miley do something together. I don't think you're going to see a lot of people that were at Woodstock 69 being all like, oh my God, I got to go see Imagine Dragons. That's not going to be the sentiment. I think they're going to be complaining. If you were a fan of music in 69, you're probably complaining that this lineup doesn't have enough of your generation's artists on it. But I think what's kind of cool about it is the kids that grew up on Miley Cyrus and the Killers and all the rest are going to get a chance to see John Sebastian perform, and Melanie and Country Joe. And, so I think that's cool. I think that element is cool. And I think, like I said, I would love to see Melanie share a stage with Miley for a couple of minutes there. I would love to see Boy Genius, do something with, and they're on separate nights, but do something with, Hot Tuna or, something like I think if we got some cool collaborations within the lineups, that would be something that would be worthy of that wow factor, Jack White and the Raconteurs. I mean, that's kind of I mean, look, that Friday night lineup is pretty stacked. Killers, Miley, Santana, the Lumineers, the Raconteurs, Robert Plant, the Thin. Imagine the Thin or Rateliff and Robert Plant doing something together. Come on. Come on. You can't tell me that that's not exciting. That's exciting. John Fogerty and Nathaniel Rateliff. Something like that, Head in the Heart, Michael Franti and Spearhead. It's good. It's good. Dead and Company with Chance the Rapper, the Black Keys, and Sturgill Simpson. I mean, imagine you're sitting there and you're seeing Sturgill, and then the Black Keys come on, and then Chance the Rapper comes on, and then Dead and Company closes it out. Like, that's a good night of music. Leon Bridges, Gary Clark Jr., and Edward Sharpe and the Magnetic Zeros all together. Like, that's killer. David Crosby and Friends and Dawes, one right behind each other, with Margot Price right behind, I mean, that's awesome. That is awesome. Interesting that it's David Crosby and Friends and not CSNY. That to me tells me that they tried as, again, one of those things that would have been like, oh, wow, I can't believe they got CSNY. But like, those are one of the things I was kind of like hanging, like, this would be amazing if they could do this. That's certainly easier to do than getting Zeppelin back together. And then you got Country Joe McDonald on that Saturday. Like, by the way, Amy Helm, Levon played the original. Amy's playing. Amy's a resident of upstate New York. Got that kind of local feel tie-in. I like that part of it too. Probably a lot of people won't mention that today. And your Sunday night, for me personally, looks like the weakest night of the whole thing, but you're still talking about, Brandy Carlisle and Janelle Monáe and Young the Giant and Courtney Barnett. Imagine Brandy and Courtney doing something together. That would be crazy good. Hot Tuna on there, Canned Heat, the Zombies, big year for them. Woodstock, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Very cool to see that. We don't have some of those like premier artists, like would I have liked to seen the Stones on this? Paul McCartney. Yeah, I mean, I think that would have been great. I think that would have been really, really great. But we got Robert Plant, We got Robert Plant. You got a good lineup. That's a good lineup. Tickets will go on sale for the festival coming up on April 22nd. Also interesting that we have 1 month worth of time to buy tickets for the festival. If you want information on that now, you can sign up for an email blast list. We don't have exact information on what, like I said, what the glamping situation will be, or anything like that. But Michael Lang has continually promised more porta potties, and that's important. That is important. It's kind of weird to have him keep bringing up porta potties, but I get it. I get it. Given the history and everything else, like, yeah, you can go ahead and keep reassuring us about the porta potties, no problem. A lot of people involved as far as non-for-profits, like I said, Headcount, Conservation International, Social Works, Reform, March for Our Lives, Hiring America, the Felix Organization, the Dolphin Project, and there's a whole slew of others. Overall, it looks like a really, like I said, it looks like a really great festival. Could Woodstock lineup-wise only give us that, like, holy cow factor? Maybe not. Like I said, just shy of getting Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young back together. Maybe there was no way they were going to do that for us anyway. I don't know. Will it give us that wow factor when it comes time for the actual performances? Maybe. Maybe. Like I said, if John Fogerty shares a stage with Robert Plant, you're going to have a lot of people, all the people that were complaining, like, there's too many young artists on this. There's not enough artists from, my classic rock era. All those people are going to be like, damn, Robert Plant and John Fogerty, that would have been amazing to be there. You know what I'm saying? So you got to kind of reserve a little bit of judgment here. It could be amazing, I think, if they go a big collab route. and they could add some more folks and some more people. You know, it's almost I would be interesting to hear, and we'll probably never really hear this, but just given the status of the late announced date, the kind of on the fly, weirdly small press conference, I kind of get the feeling that had they had a little bit more funding, a little bit more time, perhaps a little bit more organized, they would have been able to grab a bunch more artists, you know, because a lot of artists, you know, like, you know, Dave Matthews Band, or, you know, these guys all have their tour schedules ready to go, and they might slightly alter from year to year, but for the most part, they're hitting the same venues right around the same time every single year. You know, so their commitments are already in place. Who wouldn't want to play Woodstock? The other thing too is there's not a lot of artists on this lineup. You know, when you look back at Woodstock 99, Woodstock 94, even the original, there was a lot of artists. I think, and I'm just going on feel here because I had to really go back and look at it. It feels like this is the least amount of artists we've ever seen associated with the Woodstock Festival. And I'm not talking about the little ones they've thrown in between. I'm talking about 69, 94, and 99. And now 50th. This looks like the least amount of artists. So I'm sure we'll, you know, as we comb through this and get more info, we'll be touching on Woodstock 50 again. But as far as lineup goes, not the wow I think we were looking for. And just judging by media presentation, and again, a small, you know, press conference, not to heart, but, you know, it doesn't have that, like, you know, I want to see this on the 6 o'clock. That's how you know something is big. You know, when Old Cella was announced, Paul McCartney's words, not mine, but when they did that festival with the Stones and Paul McCartney and Neil Young, when that thing happened, that found its way onto the 6 o'clock news, right? That was in local markets. That was in local papers. Like, everybody wrote about it because it was executed from a media side to perfection. This, I haven't seen, not so much. Not so much. So I am a little worried about it if you're asking.